I'm really enjoying playing with my hair and different looks with this on this video. So this is just a complete concoction as my hairstyles usually are. And that's it really on that topic. But okay, today I said yesterday I was going to talk about something today. I can't remember how I introduced it or how I spoke of it yesterday, but nevertheless I know what it was or what it is. So let's get into it. It was about beginnings and endings, and still not sure how I'm going to connect it to the previous video, so I'm not going to even try. It might come to me as I talk. It's kind of like I was going to say up against, but that's not the right one. Right expression, right term. It's like the step I'm on at the moment in terms of my evolution, let's say, is like the final frontier, and it's the hardest one yet. And it doesn't feel that hard. It's hardest one yet. I can think of one or two more hard ones or harder ones, but I'm not going to talk about them today, if ever, until they arise and they become relevant, if ever. Anyway, so this step in my evolution is to do with my mother and my releasing the ties that bonded us and suffocated me. But it's not really either just about releasing ties. It's not, yeah, it's not just about that. It's actually it's about how I have entangled myself in those ties. Because on one hand, I definitely don't want to break the ties. At least I wouldn't, that's not the idea, to break them and to kind of cut them. That's why I was sort of cautious and thinking about what's the best verb to use in relation to ties. So release is better. I certainly tried in the past to cut them, and when you cut ties, it always feels angry, or it feels like finite. And I'm good with finite. I really am. Well, in theory, as much as I feel I am. And if there was any finite cutting to be happening with my mother, and one of them could be her death, could be seen as a finite cutting. Well, I think I'm in a place in my life where I will take that more gracefully and more wisely than I ever would have in the past, because it's just life and all that, whatever. But I suppose the only finite thing, although I wouldn't believe it to be finite, is her denouncing me, let's say, which is part of my fear. Not that she ever kind of gave me reasons to think she would, but because I know her, I know that I don't think she could or would, but she certainly threatened, or not denouncing, but threatened, or maybe actually even denouncing, because it's a word in my mother tongue that kind of rolls off people's tongues easily, and it's used in everyday, just communication. so yeah, I certainly have a fear that she will just like be so angry with me that she wouldn't want to speak to me. So that is probably the most painful, still kind of potential outcome. And it would be the most painful, the most difficult to handle, but I'm ready to do it. But yeah, so what I've been doing, and it kind of is scary, even not just the scary one that I just identified, the one that actually feels like the old kind of fear. If she was to denounce me, let's say, because I'm not doing what she wants me to, I'm not catering to her the way I used to. Sorry, I just love kind of the visuals of it. But the other fear is that my desired result, which is to feel 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 free from her. And I don't, because I'm thinking about her, and not in like wistful way, but more like I'm stressing about what I'm going through now, and this process, this leg of this step in my evolution, right? And a lot of what I'm processing and feeling is anger still, and because she's her old self, if you like, and I'm moving away from my old self, and so I'm angry that she isn't okay with that, or she isn't at ease with it, or she's still trying to trap me, or whatever, however I perceive it. And then just the other day I wrote in my diary, like, how did I write it? That basically me being triggered by her is her still, having that influence on me, or having that power. And I'm like, the desire, my wish should be, and I then rewrote it, is not to stop, for her to stop anything, but for me to stop being triggered. And I know it's actually, like such an obvious wisdom, really. It's not, but something about writing it down and then going, what? Realizing that actually I'm completely just giving that power, my power away, my power of just controlling my reaction. That's the only power, really. So why am I not? So I rewrote it as to, my desire, my dream is to be free from being triggered. And that's it. That's all it kind of is. So what does that entail? What does that look like? It would be just to... So I suppose the problem with not being triggered, for me at least, is, am I letting myself down? Am I betraying myself by working on not being triggered? Because triggers, or rather what's been triggered, is actually useful to me, to help me figure out me and my problems and my issues and my hang-ups and my illnesses, my psychological ailments. So if I'm kind of, see the fine line. So have I worked through my triggers, or have I just bypassed something and therefore I'm not being triggered anymore? So no. Can you be not triggered if you're still struggling with something? And to me, that the answer involves addressing the sound, energetic sound of your response to the potential trigger. If you feel like you're suppressing something, if you're kind of having to jump in and intervene, energetically speaking, like just so you're kind of on the receiving end of something that used to trigger, you think you got over it, doesn't trigger you anymore, and you're really feeling good about it in theory, and then you're in front of that person and that trigger, you do the same thing, and it's the trigger's there. If your reaction subtly is energetic intervention, like kind of soothing what started to be a response to a trigger, as in you started to be triggered, and you intervene energetically to soothe that, so you don't get triggered. You're not acting, or you're not feeling the trigger. Let's say, is it not allowing it, or is that the work to actually intervene? And then I think it's a fine line. I really think, based on my life experience, it's a fine line to tread. It's almost like measuring, like when you are so when you have so let's say you're measuring some, like, I don't know, an amount. This is what happens with my hair. It's so heavy that if I leave it for long, it just starts to reshape. But I love it. I wish I could like go out like this. I mean, no one's stopping me, just that I don't really go out. So when you are measuring quantity for, let's say, sugar for whatever you're baking, right? And the way you do, maybe, right, this is how I do it, and I would think everyone does. So you have scales, then you put the bowl that you're doing this, you're going to be measuring the sugar in. and then the bowl weighs whatever, then you zero that, so you're at zero with the bowl on the scales, and now you can pour the sugar, so you get the, or you can do it mathematically differently anyway, so then you add sugar, and you, like, let's say you need 100 grams, and you're like really stickler for this, kind of like you're precise, you don't want 100, so you want to just get 100. So it's like that, it's like really being very careful as to how, so not to overdo, because if you overdo then you'll have to take out and you end up overdoing, so you keep doing that, adding and then taking away and adding and taking away until you refine it, until you get it right. That's how this feels, this work. So it's like, have I intervened? Have I prematurely jumped in? Should have I let this speak to me a bit more, this trigger? Should have I even reacted from the trigger, because maybe they really trespass something, do I, I'm not gonna just stand for it, or I'm not gonna just let it be. So was it that? Was it this? You know what I mean? So you kind of really have to dance and walk this line carefully, tread it carefully, like be vigilant as to, be observant as to what's happening, and you will be, because it's that's when they say balance is not fixed point. It's like you constantly keep readjusting, and yeah, so this is it, this is that, and so I'm doing that with my mother, and yeah, it's like, God, it's been long, it's lifetime in the making, really, where now she even shares with me the stuff that usually in the past would have made me feel so sorry for her or just sad, and I'm not rejoicing, but I'm just like, I really don't know what else I can say other than I'm sorry, or I'm sad for you, or just like, those sounds like, oh yeah, and I don't, I know I'm acting here, but I mean them. I just really, I don't even know what I used to do. Like oh my God, I used to work for her. I mean, this is what I used to do for people in general. Like, that's how it felt to me eventually, very quickly, or eventually. That I work for them. It's like I'm doing all this emotional, like just, oh, okay, let's just move a little bit here and then a bit here. Oh yeah, are you okay there? Oh, hold on, you're dropping, let's not drop you. I mean, honestly, oh my God, just that triggers me every time. It makes me so angry that I ever done that, to the extent that I've done it, and for the reasons that I've done it, because I feared, rejection, or feared judgment and blame, right? Blame was something I spoke of recently. So yeah, so I kind of arrived at a point, had arrived at a point that, and that's kind of how I work in general. It's like I run out of things. There's nothing left in me anymore. Which is not great. I don't think I could have, I don't know about that. Maybe if I remember, I might talk about that tomorrow more. But yeah, so yeah, I arrived at a point now I literally don't know what to tell. I haven't got an email. I cannot say the things I used to. I don't even know what they were specifically, like, because her story is the same. It's just a different ailment and different whatever. And I used to say much more, and she used to be comfortable. She, now I can see that she's like, there's gaps, and I'm not saying anything. I don't know. I'm just kind of just nodding or quiet, waiting for her to say something else. I don't know what to say. Genuinely don't know what to say. So, oh, I love this 2-color hair. Oh, there are many colors. Sort of grey and black coming into. Anyway, so yeah, that's it for today, and I'll be back tomorrow.